Hi, my name is Katie Schneider, and I've been teaching special education for secondary students for the past 6 years. The title of my paper, Age-Based Changes in Motivation and the Relationship Between Adolescents' Motivation to Learn and Academic Achievement. I'm passionate about this topic because I work with a lot of students who are seriously unmotivated to learn. One of the greatest challenges in education is low motivation and disengagement among secondary students. Some of the past research shows impacts of low motivation are low academic achievement, increased dropout rates for students, behavior issues in the classroom are also increased, and deficits among emotional connections between students and other students, students and their teachers, and students and their parents. Motivation is one of the most essential elements needed for learning. Sometimes rewards can increase attentiveness and memory, but the focus of the reward should be on student competence and mastery and their effort rather than grades or focus on the reward. The reward should also be relevant to the task. Disengagement in middle and high school years. There's 66% of the students expressed that they were bored at school daily. 41% of students stated that they go to school for the sake of learning, which means that 60% of them don't want to be here. Only 23% of students stated that they attended school because of their teachers and the connections they have with their teachers. Many researchers have studied the relationship between academic achievement and student motivation, but only a few have studied the changes in motivation from their elementary years to their secondary years, and like reward systems that can help improve those school relations. The purpose of this paper is to investigate changes in academic motivation from elementary to secondary years and to investigate the relationship between adolescent motivation and academic achievement. I have 5 research questions that I'll be addressing in my results. As a review study, this was done as a review study because I originally was going to do a quantitative study, but due to COVID, the best way to collect information on this topic was to gather articles and review each of the articles and find common themes. So 24 articles were selected using keywords within the past 10 years. The articles all focused on student motivation, academic performance, and changes in motivation. And all participants were within the grades of 4 through 12, and all articles were peer-reviewed. The data analysis, I created a table that had the purpose, the codes, the themes, types of research, and sample size, and findings. The themes, each of the themes helped answer the research questions. This chart here shows my 5 themes that I came up with and the number of articles that fit each theme, as well as the authors. This is kind of a visual that shows that the most articles, with this green line being the percentage, had emotional connections and emotional connections to promote motivation and increase student performance. There were some others that were pretty high. The lowest one was right here with strategies used to engage students and motivate them to learn. The types of studies were, I used various types of studies. There's qualitative, quantitative, mixed, literature review, and one was just a paper that was peer-reviewed. So the results of the theme age-based differences in student motivation and from elementary to high school, 5 of the articles focused on this theme, and it helped answer that research question. Weissman conducted a qualitative study to evaluate the different ways that students are motivated and to determine if the most effective ways are being incorporated in the classroom. He gathered the top 5 reasons that students say that they put forth effort and the top 5 reasons that teachers think that students put forth effort, and found that students and teachers have very different perspectives when it comes to motivational constructs. So it's essential for educators to allow student voice in the instructional process to increase engagement and participation in learning activities. The next theme was student motivation and academic achievement. There were 4 articles that supported this theme and helped answer this research question. That was 18% of the articles. Murayama used a mixed method study using participants in both 5th and 7th grade and found that there was a strong positive correlation between student motivation and their achievement in math in both grade levels. 3 motivational factors were considered: the student's perceived control, intrinsic motivation, and extrinsic motivation. Students who reported high motivation in all 3 factors had high academic achievement in math. The theme student motivation and academic achievement had a sub-theme, struggling students' motivation to learn. There were 14% or 3 articles that fit this category. And Herges conducted a mixed method study on 65 middle schoolers with learning disabilities and found that a moderate positive correlation between intrinsic motivation and math achievement. They also found that high achieving students consistently had more positive attitudes towards math and more perceived parental and teacher support than low achieving students. The findings from this study can be summarized and can help answer the research question by providing statistical data to show a correlation between academic achievement and student motivation, even with struggling students, and demonstrate that students who struggle in school also struggle with motivation to learn. The next one is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation used collectively to increase academic achievement. There were 6 articles that fit this theme, and Henderlong conducted a mixed method study with 243 participants in 4th through 8th grade to measure motivational orientation. They found that students fit into 4 different motivational clusters: high quantity, which means that they have high intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, primarily intrinsic, which meant that they had high intrinsic motivation, low extrinsic. They had primarily extrinsic, which was high extrinsic, low intrinsic motivation. And then there was low quantity, where they had low of both. The students in the primary intrinsic cluster had a significantly higher GPA and scored significantly higher on the Iowa Test of Basic Skills than any other motivational cluster. The high quantity cluster, which is both intrinsic and extrinsic, came in second place with their GPA. The primarily extrinsic motivation scored the lowest. So the next research question to be answered with the theme strategies used to engage students and motivate them to learn had a sub-theme, extrinsic rewards and token economy reward systems. There were 3 articles that fit this theme, which was 12.5% of the articles. And Murazami conducted a quantitative study with 13 to 17-year-old boys with intellectual disabilities who were assigned to either a control group with no rewards given or the token economy reinforcement group where chips were earned in exchange for desired reward, or the social reinforcement group, attention, rewards, and encouragement were all given. They found that students in the token economy reinforcement group scored an average of 2.5 points higher on their post-test for science than the control group. The students in the social reinforcement group also scored higher than the control group. So in summary, adolescents who are provided with external motivators are more likely to engage in the work and score better on the assessments. Also, when the token economy system is implemented with fidelity, students are more likely to make achievement gains. So the final theme here is emotional connections to promote motivation and increase student performance. There were 7 articles that fit this theme. One of them was Wilkie and Sullivan, and they conducted a qualitative study to determine what Australian middle schoolers' wishes were for their mathematical learning and how their wishes might connect to motivational factors. Participants were in grades 5 through 8, and their responses were coded into 5 different categories. And the third highest percentage of students responded in the category about effect and motivation, with 12.6% of the students responding that they wanted to increase effort, decrease effort, or find more enjoyment in math. Overall, the students conveyed that they wanted to get better at math, be engaged with the type of task, and feel connected to their teachers in their classrooms. So in discussion, connections to prior research, there's 66% of students express feeling bored at school daily. This research shows that students can be motivated and engaged at school if teachers make connections with students and allow students to collaborate with each other. Only 41% of students say that they go to school for the sake of learning, and only 23% say they attend school because of their teachers. So the current research shows that teachers can increase the statistic by using strategies to increase this emotional engagement in school. There is a relationship between poor achievement and extrinsic motivation. And neuroscientists have determined that rewards do impact student behavior, and they can increase attentiveness and memory. Those were both past research. The current research found that since adolescents are motivated differently than other age groups, that teachers need to be sure to tap into students' intrinsic and extrinsic motivation in order to raise achievement gains. When they provide rewards, they need to be focused on the mastery and the effort rather than on competing against each other or focusing on the reward. Theoretical implications. B.F. Skinner's theory of operant conditioning emphasizes that behaviors that proceed with a desired consequence will be repeated, while behaviors that proceed with a consequence that's less desirable are less likely to continue. And this falls in line with the motivation increases through the following consequences that are desirable: praise and recognition, rewards, grades, positive connections with peers, teachers, school, and parents. So some of the limitations to this study was the lack of numerical data within the qualitative studies. Also, more research is needed to see if extrinsic motivation actually does undermine intrinsic motivation at the secondary level. Some of the keywords used to find the articles may have eliminated some of the articles that were focused on this topic because I didn't extend the number of keywords. Suggestions for future research would be to include additional keywords and databases to derive more articles. Also, future research to include the study of what types of school, teacher, and parent connections result in the greatest achievement gains. And also, if we were to measure extrinsic and intrinsic motivations separately to determine if extrinsic motivation actually undermines intrinsic motivation for the secondary level. Increasing motivation should be the main focus for educators, and they need to focus on mastery goals versus performance goals, offering positive praise that focuses on the improvements and the effort. They also need to incorporate student voice because students and teachers have different beliefs about what motivates them. Connect the reward to the academic task is another important thing. So like if it's a reading task, to connect it with providing them with a bookmark. Okay, in adolescence, including struggling learners prefer external rewards. Also, implications for teachers and parents should incorporate both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, because extrinsic rewards can enhance the connection between intrinsic motivation and academic success, even though past research has said that extrinsic motivation undermines intrinsic motivation. Increases in both the quality and the quantity of work if you incorporate both. Finally, building connections, peer-to-peer connections, surrounding them with friends who value academic success, teacher and student connections, parent and student connections as well. Thank you.